I was waiting for the train one rainy morning when someone walked up behind me. The person spoke with a coarse, baited voice.
"Jack, I have come for you."
Of course, this was rather confusing. My name was not Jack at all. But before I could correct the rude stranger, I felt a piercing pain through my gut. He had stabbed me. As I attempted to speak to him, he pulled out the knife and stabbed me in the throat. The horrific pain spiked to where I fell unconscious, presumably to my death. But I did not die there. In fact, I found myself in a quaint little bedroom. Bed was for two, which I felt discomforting. But there was no sign of anyone else. I called for anyone, but no response. I felt upon my neck and felt no wound. The same for my stomach, as if the moments before waking up was simply a terrible dream. I walked towards the door and entered what was the living room, somewhat dilapidated, but did appear lived in, at least. Strangely, the windows all showed complete blackness, pitch as a winter night. It was in fact still summer, so it did not make a whole lot of sense either. It was then I noticed the light inside would not actually be enough to lit the room the way it was. Perhaps I was simply overthinking things. With nothing to do, I sat down to read the newspaper, waiting for whomever had put me here to appear and explain why and how I ended up in this place. It was, however, a rather strange newspaper. "Jack does it again," it said. There was that name, this Jack. Was he a killer? Like Jack the Ripper? A serial killer I'd never heard of. But how would that be possible? Another headline caught my eye before I could finish reading the first article. "Jack fails his friends," the second one said. Now this is just petty. Dry news day? Jack seemed some sort of local celebrity, and apparently his social life is the business of this newspaper, and did not look like a tabloid, but seemed that it was. Every article went on about this Jack fellow, as if everything he did was important. It did also mention something about an incident, but would not go into any detail of what it was. Going by the obsessive paper, I suppose he missed someone's birthday, or something else heinous. I left the living room and went to the kitchen. I decided to make some tea or coffee, but both jars had cockroaches in them, which was rather strange. Up to this point, the place looked fine, but somehow the insect had found a way into both containers. Perhaps I had simply not paid attention, as I noticed more roaches on the floor in places. Additionally, I also noticed that the place was in a greater state of disrepair than I first realized. Similarly, the faint stink of old milk could be felt about the place. "Anyone there?" I asked out loud, one final time as I set to leave. I went to the entrance of the house, only to find the door barred from the inside with planks. On the planks the text, "Remember, Jack," in blood red.
"Do you, Jack?"
A voice whispered in my ear. Under normal circumstances you might think that this experience would be quite terrifying, and I do not deny that. However, my name was still not Jack. If anything, it made me irritated. "I'm not Jack," I said to the voice as I turned around. No one was there. I returned to the living room and looked out of the window again. Pitch blackness. I attempted to open a window to the balcony, but it was stuck. In desperation, I attempted to break a window by throwing out a floor lamp, but it bounced right off. Stranger even, it was still lit when unplugged.
"There is no other way, Jack."
The voice returned and whispered mockingly. "Still not Jack," I said firmly, the voice unwilling to listen since it began to echo in the room with a faintly Jack over and over again.
"Jack, you will remember,"
it whispered. What will Jack remember? For I am still not Jack, and I cannot remember what Jack is supposed to remember, I screamed at the voice. As I looked around, there was now a giant framed picture of a woman. She was wearing a summer dress and sat in a hammock, smiling at the viewer.
"Remember, Jack. Remember her. Remember what you did?
The voice whispered in a more threatening tone. No, but Jack does. Could it be that you took the wrong man? I asked. For a little while I thought Jack was some nickname I was unaware of, but now it is clear you do not even know who I am. My name is Lloyd Anteberger. I work for an electronics company and—
Is that who you want to be, Jack? Someone else?
The voice insisted as it interrupted me. Still not Jack, I yelled.
Have it your way, then, Jack.
The voice became deeper and more menacing. I felt a presence and turned around. An entity dressed in what appeared to be a black raincoat stood in front of me with a crooked smile and sunken, empty eyes. The creature had arms much longer than any human should, ending in large hands with elongated fingers. It breathed heavily, repeating the name Jack on its lips. As horrified as I should have been, my irritation was even greater. Do I look like Jack? Is that it? And for what coincidence do I speak like him? I'm not sure if this is an elaborate prank, or a nightmare, or even hell. I do not care. I'm still not Jack. My words fell flat as the creature did not listen. I felt a pain through my body, and it all went black. But once again I also found myself in the same room, and still not Jack. The paintings on the walls had begun to bleed their colours, becoming grotesque parodies of themselves. It did not faze me, nor any of the other additional horrors I faced, as my now overwhelming irritation was the only thing left I could feel. It is clear now that I am in some sort of realm beyond ours, where time has no meaning, and the only way out is to confess to a sin I do not know the nature of, and I will never know. I am Lloyd Anteberger, and all I will ever be. Still not Jack.